It's like the good old days. They are 3-12. And we are bracing for impact, and that impact come January, whether it's January 4th or 5th or 6th, whenever they decide to do things, is potential changes that they could make, and whether or not Kevin Stefanski can save his job in the final couple of weeks here. You heard Shedeur there in the open talk about how he has to do his part, which, by the way, that was a great answer when he was asked about whether or not he feels like the Browns have any commitment for him next year. And he's like, well, I kind of got to do my part to give them reason for that. And he said winning games. And we might have to hit the pause button. No, Shedeur, we want you to play well. Maybe winning games, not the best thing, although maybe for him, because it takes him out of the range for a quarterback in the top 5 of the draft if he wins.
Well, the problem for me is that when you start talking about I want to play well, or I got to play or do my part, and you're not talking about winning, that's kind of where the Browns organization is for me. I've always believed winning has got to be the most important thing. And for some reason, like when I'm breaking down plays, I'm thinking about this is a good play, this is a bad play. All quarterbacks do those things, but we're talking about, is he the quarterback of the future? And that's the problem with the Browns right now, is that we're not talking about winning or schemes or how they attack people. They've kind of led themselves to this, but that's where we're at. And I think he's got to do his part, and I think he's done some good things. But I also think there's room for improvement. And I'm not an extremist. I don't to say he's the guy or to say he can't be the guy. I'm not there. I think he's earning some right to get some more reps, and that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I mean it's a step-by-step process here. This is how they did it when Dylan Gabriel suffered the concussion. They kind of slow walked it. Shedeur showed a little something against the Ravens. They had a chance to win, but didn't. Played well in Las Vegas in his first start, which he won. Hasn't won since, and it's been uneven. Now, you're not allowed to criticize Shedeur. You know, the Shedeur fans don't want to hear any criticism. This guy walks on water and can do no wrong. But he has done some wrong. He's not perfect, and that's why we can't sit here and say that, when they're in position potentially to have 3 of the top 33 picks in next April's draft, they can just spend that all on supporting cast for him. You know, we have to have the conversation, honestly, about quarterback and what they need. And before you could even have that conversation, you have to know who your coach is, and they have to look themselves in the mirror and decide, is it going to be Kevin Stefanski going forward? And it's one of two things. If it's going to be Kevin, then you have to give Kevin the type of quarterback he really wants. Because I think that's one of the major problems, aside from the fact he's had 13 of these dudes in 6 years, and you've not really been able to build around anyone. You've tried to talk yourself into building around Deshaun Watson, but he just hasn't been around to build around enough, either because of his own off-the-field alleged behavior or the fact that he can't stay healthy. But then, once you decide Kevin's your guy, then you have to decide, well, is Shedeur Sanders the type of quarterback that Kevin Stefanski wants to coach? And I don't know the answer to that, but I'm leaning towards probably not. Because he just doesn't seem to have, whatever it is Kevin likes in his quarterback, I don't know that Shedeur Sanders is it. Deshaun Watson wasn't it, I don't believe. So, this is always seems to be the problem with the Browns is even when they have alignment, they don't have alignment, and they can't figure out the alignment, or they talk themselves into the alignment, and then they force moves to fit the alignment, which the alignment doesn't align with the alignment. And it's just this vicious cycle, and that's why we're sitting here now, 2 straight years of a 3-win football team, and we have to tangibly ask the question: does Kevin Stefanski keep his job? Of course, I'm the one throwing out there: if Kevin doesn't get to keep his job, neither should Andrew Berry, because if you've been telling us for 5 years these guys are joined at the hip, they're thought partners and all this type of stuff, Lance. I don't know how now 6 years in you can say, yeah, no, we got Andrew in this corner, we got Kevin in this corner, we're gonna get rid of Kevin now. They're really not joined at the hip. That to me organizationally makes zero sense to me.
Well, the alignment thing has always been my issue. I always thought they were aligned through the good and the bad, mostly bad, but they were aligned and they were on the same team. Now you're starting to see them separate, which for me tells me somebody's going to go. And I'm with you. To steal your thing, the groceries, they don't have a lot on offense. So if you're going to decide if you're going to evaluate a quarterback, you better start from the inside out. This offensive line is really, really poor right now. They don't pass protect. They don't run the ball very well. It's hard to evaluate a quarterback when it's run, pass, or if it's second and long all the time. Last week he took that checkdowns. I like that. It gave him 2nd and 5. They got in a little bit better rhythm. I don't know what's going on with the quarterback situation. I always thought for what Kevin does, the early down boots, waggles, throwing launch points, Baker was the guy. For some reason that didn't work out. Now I'll be first one to say I thought Dylan was a good quarterback, and I still do, for the fact that he matched what Kevin does. The boots on the first down, throwing from different launch points, kind of hid his height.
Throwing 2-yard passes.
Yeah, well, if you throw 2-yard passes, but when they're there, it's like not throwing the ball downfield. If you throw the ball downfield and it's not, they're not giving it to you, that's silly too, in my opinion. So he just did, when he took the passes, he took those short ones, but he's got to take the long ones when they're there. That's what Shador's got to kind of work opposite, right? He always wants to take the long one. Last week he checked it down a little bit. We can get into that later, but the quarterback situation all comes down to alignment. They're not aligned. And when you hear Kevin say, "I'm not sure," he didn't even know Flacco was traded. It seemed like with you guys, those kind of things. That alignment issue as a head coach, if you take it to the high school level, you got to be everybody's got to be aligned. Administration, the principals, the teachers. If you're not, you get a mess, especially when things go bad. It's easy to hide things when you're winning. The Browns right now, everything's exposed because you're losing. And for me, the alignment is the major issue. Everything we're talking about, quarterbacks, offensive line, evaluation, they're not aligned right now. Until that happens, nothing's going to work.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you can't just wheel the car into the garage, put it on the rack, do a quick alignment, and you're in and out in 20 minutes. That's just not how this works.
Did you think Dylan was a good pick for him? Do you think that? I thought he matched Kevin's offense perfectly.
Well, we know Kevin liked Dylan Gabriel, which makes me question his evaluation ability when it comes to quarterbacks. I wanted to stab myself in my eyes with a fork watching Dylan Gabriel try to play quarterback. Like, I never want to see him again. I'm good.
We're not eye to eye on that one, but that's okay.
He's a wonderful kid. Too short, can't see, can't throw it more than 2 yards. Like, I don't want to watch Charlie check down. I want to watch the modern NFL. I want to watch Patrick Mahomes style offense. I want to watch a Josh Allen style offense. I want to watch a Joe Burrow style offense. Where they throw the ball more than 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. Now, part of the issue is not a lot to work there. And I think that, to your point, what you're talking about with Shador, like, he keeps talking about trust and the time on task needed to develop that trust, and not just trust in the players, but trust in himself, in what he's seeing, what he's reading, who's really open. Can I jam it into this tight window? Because that's what the great quarterbacks do. We talk about great throws all the time, but I think even you have to admit this. There are times where we say great throw, it really was a bad throw. The receiver just made an unbelievable play, and we're like, oh, yeah, great throw by the quarterback. Put it where only the receiver could get it. And no, the receiver made a phenomenal play. The Browns have no receivers that can make any plays, that can make the quarterback look elevated. And both of these guys were set up to fail offensively this year. Like, let's be honest about it. Offensive line in shambles. You're going to have a tough time. Any quarterback, let alone two rookies, you're going to struggle with that. And then when you just basically have very little talent in your wide receiver room, you get what you ask for. And I think the Browns got exactly what they asked for this year.
Well, the balance here, the quarterbacks you mentioned, those are the very few guys you can win because of. And I don't know if you can go out there and get a guy you can win with, especially early on. There are a few guys.
How many teams in the National Football League, though, Coach, find some mysterious
guy
way
you can win
of doing
with.
That?
Some guys you can win with, but but they have the better supporting cast, right? So if you're talking Mahomes and Allen, those guys can uplift or make their guys around them better. If you got a guy you can win with, which is the majority of quarterbacks, you better surround them with good players, and that's where the Browns offensively are struggling. So if you're evaluating a quarterback right now, it's probably going to be a quarterback you win with.
I mean, Phillip Rivers is old enough to be my grandpa, and he looks serviceable Monday night.
Well, once again, though, pieces around. You got better pieces, right?
I know. I'm just saying.
So that's where I think they have to think. Are they thinking they're going to get a quarterback they win because of? I'm not sure. I don't think he's out there in the draft this year for sure. If he is, maybe. But for me, it's you better go out and get some pieces. You better get some offensive linemen. You better get a tackle. You better get a guy who can run with the ball after he catches it. You better do some things because your evaluation of the quarterback is going to be the same if he's on his butt. Right. It's always going to be the same.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the position they put themselves in, though, is, well, this is what you gave him to work with. Now, I will say that the offense has looked better with Shedeur running it than Dylan Gabriel. And you being the film guy, I don't know that they're doing things all that differently with Shedeur than they were trying to do with Dylan. Dylan's screen pass would go to the first row, where Shedeur's would be caught and run 66 yards for a touchdown. Same play, completely different results. So, you know what I mean? Like, and that's, I think, one of the criticisms with Kevin. Like, he has his offense, he has his way of doing things. Has he really tailored and run everything for these quarterbacks? No, I don't think he has. But he's had 13 different guys. You can't really build an offense when you've just got a merry-go-round at that position. And, well, hello, that's usually what the Cleveland Browns have.
Yeah, you know, and it goes back to when they had Deshaun Watson. I thought when he went out and got Dorsey, he was trying to maximize Deshaun Watson's ability. The problem is with that is that it's not what you install, it's what you can fix as a coach. And when he had Watson at quarterback, that's why they even looked worse than they do now, because their inability, he can't fix it. Because if you're running an offense you don't understand, you don't know the nuances of how to fix it. So for me, it was when he brought in Dorsey, I kind of respected that. When he brought in Vrabel, these guys, I respected that. Like, we're going to do everything we can to win. Unfortunately, you can only do so much. And if Kevin's your guy, I'm with you in the fact that you got to get a guy that he likes and that can run his offense. Because we only know what we know. And more importantly, you only know what you can fix. And right now, they can't do either because of their personnel. The snowball has kind of rolled down the hill, and they're struggling, and they're going to have somebody's going to fall for this. But I don't think it necessarily should be Kevin.
Yeah, the Browns got to figure out who their guy is. Big shock, and it's not just the quarterback either. They got to figure out who their guys are in a variety of roles within the organization. Deshaun Watson's season is over. They are not activating him. He will go back to making Instagram videos. And whatever else.
That might have been the perfect cap to the season, though. Bring Deshaun into the mayhem, which is the Browns season.
Well, Daryl, you seem like you're 0% shocked that he's not activated.
I can confirm 0% shocked.
Before the season, also thought I would be 0% shocked today. As the season went on, it's like I'm about 25% shocked that he didn't come back. The way things
I still think he's the best quarterback in the room right now.
Quarterback-wise, actual quarterback ability.
Between the lines.
I agree with that.
But I think there's other things. But in terms of throwing the football, these guys aren't close to him throwing the football.
No, this is true. I don't know if he can run for his life anymore the way he used to.
Yeah, the wheels are not what they used to be.
He hasn't played a full season since 2020, 2021, something like that. It's been a long time since
2020.
Since 2020,
the
right?
year nobody was in the stands. Yeah.
You know what? The days and the years, they just blend together for me now. The older I get, it's really hard to keep track of that. The days and the years now. I will walk into a room to do something, get something, look for something, and then instantaneously have no idea what I'm doing. And then go back to doing what I was doing previously.
Welcome, my friend, welcome.
And then be like, oh, that's what it was. Or I'll be sitting in my recliner and be like, okay, I want to change channel. Where's the remote? Remote's in my hand, but I'm looking everywhere for the remote. Yeah, I've reached that stage of life. It is humorous, one, but very unnerving and unsettling. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's for me, it's the stuff that hurts that shouldn't hurt.
Have you seen my glasses? I can't find my glasses anywhere.
They're right there on your eyebrow.
Right there. Okay, all right. But yeah, so no Deshaun Watson, no surprise there. Listen, I was surprised that he even was able to practice this year, just because of the rupturing the Achilles not once but twice, and having to have it put back together twice. The fact that he was even able to get himself to a point where he could practice, I thought was an achievement. But also at the same time, I think, let's be honest about it, Coach, Deshaun could have messed some things up. Like, is it worth putting his long-term health on the line in any of the final 2 games versus giving Shedeur Sanders those snaps? I would say they get more value out of giving Shedeur Sanders those snaps rather than risking Deshaun being out there, after practice in just a couple of weeks, coming back from double ruptures, the same Achilles.
Well, I would like to, we don't know his full health, obviously, but if he was healthy, I think he could have been in the mix. Kind of tells you that they've kind of bailed on the season, which I'm always against. I'll say this forever. If winning's not the most important thing, don't talk to me about culture, because if your culture is not winning, then everything you say is nonsense. So if he was healthy and could play, I would argue he still would be one of the better quarterbacks in the room, if not the best. However, if you want to get a look at Shedeur and that's your job, then you're evaluating, which I'm all about. We got to evaluate the guys we have, but then again, great teams or team organizations that are sound, we're not evaluating, we're trying to win games, and that's where the Browns have to get to. How that happens, I don't know, but that's where we're at right now.
I got to ask you, because we heard the sound that Owen played coming back from the break there, and this might be coach speak, but I want to get your thoughts on this. Kevin's always talking about the meeting rooms, how great guys are in the meeting rooms. Is that coach speak, or is there something to that?
No, that's there's a lot of coach speak in there, and so here's what he's saying is that when he's in meetings, he understands when you're on the board. Deshaun can go up there and draw. One of the things coaches like to do is they'll have them draw the plays on the board, or they'll go on a play, they'll put it up on the screen, and they'll say, "What do you see here? What coverage you see here pre-snap? What do you see in post-snap?" And it really kind of refers to how fast are they answering, how confident in their answers.
Because I kind of feel like the Browns should have hand out a trophy, best player in the meeting room award.
Well, and it kind of gives you an umbrella, like he's being helpful to others. I would be willing.
Him or Dylan Gabriel. Those are your finalists. Owen, rank them. Best players in the Browns meeting rooms. Here. There we go. Here we go. Best players in the Browns meeting rooms. Owen, go ahead.
Well, it's got to be Dylan Gabriel, number one. He's
the human
right?
supercomputer.
Supercomputer, you got to put him number one. Deshaun's probably number 2. And then they brought him back for a reason. Bailey Zappi, he's got to be number 3.
Right? Okay, Coach, you ready? Here we go. I need you to rank best Browns in the meeting room. Go.
I'm gonna go Deshaun Watson because he's a veteran. I'm gonna go supercomputer. No, I'm gonna go Bailey Zappi. They brought him in. They kept him
over the supercomputer
because he hasn't done it yet.
He didn't. How many rosters now? Right.
But yeah, he's got. There's a plethora of information.
Coach, the supercomputer's your guy.
But the supercomputer did not at this point, even though I think it's early. Once again, I think it's early. It did not compute to the field.
Needs a RAM upgrade.
He needs an upgrade, but Bailey Zappi's here for a reason, so he's probably sitting in the front seat in the meeting room.
All right, I'm going to go supercomputer numero uno. That is why he was drafted 3rd. You saw it for those 5 starts. Okay, you didn't see much in the 5 stars, but he's number 1. Number 2 in the meeting with Deshaun, right? I mean, because they're getting $46 million out of the guy. He better be good in the meeting room. And then, you know what? I have to go Bailey Zappi over Shedeur Sanders number 3.
Nobody said Shedeur.
I know. And you know what? I am sure the YouTube chat is blowing up right now.
That's the problem. The guy who might not be the best in the quarterback room is probably the best option on the football field right now.
Scary thought, but that's the reality.
Those things don't. You kind of need them to blend a little bit, right?
I love every time.
Great team on paper, though. Great team on paper.
Every time, Kevin.
Meeting room is hellacious.
Yes.
The meeting room is hellacious. Everybody is on point.
They
in
got
the meeting
the sim and everything.
I've seen some behind the scenes of various meeting rooms around the National Football League, and none of it's for air. That's all I'm gonna say. None of it's for air. So. But every time Kevin brings up the meeting rooms, it takes every ounce of my being not to just start rolling my eyes in front of him because I can't take it seriously. And I understand that that's important. I do understand the preparation stuff is important. You got to know the offense. You got to know your checks and all that. Check with me's and protections and all. I get it. But the only thing I care about are those 4 quarters every Sunday. And all I know is I don't care how good these guys are in the meeting room. They suck on the field. Well, the bottom line is you got to translate.
You got to be good. I mean, to say somebody, it is coach talk a little bit because those guys are all good in the meeting room. This is what they do for a living. They get up in the morning. We're here. We're doing our stuff. They're there studying film, doing stuff. They're all good in the meeting room. It's a product-based league, and everybody can be good at processing information. I think Dylan Gabriel's much better than most. In fact, I'm on the mountain alone with him right now, and that's okay.
Yeah,
because I like Shedeur too.
You're a lone wolf on that.
That's fine, and I proudly was staying there. But I like Shedeur too. But the bottom line is they got to win games, and that's what it really comes down. It's not a process-based league. It's not a meeting-based league. This is a win or get out league.
Wasn't there some analytical metric that said Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are like the 2 worst quarterbacks in the NFL or something?
Well, then that's once again like just like the PFF stuff. There's a place for PFF, but in terms of evaluating people, I'm not huge on that.
I'm what I see with my 4 eyes.
Shedeur has had more impact. There's no question, especially him stretching the field. But the bottom line is they're not winning games, and that until that changes, it doesn't matter whatever else happens. They got to win games.
Not only are they not winning games, they can barely score 20 points. They've only done that 5 times this year. So it was 17 points on Sunday, and I'm sitting there thinking, do they even score again? Because 17 points is the Great Wall of China to them, as far as trying to get around or get over whatever. That was just the 5th time this year. By the way, in a league that's designed for you to be able to move the ball and score points with ease because all the rules are tilted to favor your offense, and these guys can barely scratch 17, let alone 20. So, and it's very boring to watch. When I want to watch entertaining football, I don't watch the Cleveland Browns. I will watch any other team in the league, but the Cleveland Browns. They just, for whatever reason, find a way to make this the absolute hardest, or make it look like it's the absolute hardest thing to do, and it just blows my mind. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm just kind of I've reached the indifference with Kevin. I don't have I have no agenda when it comes to Andrew and Kevin. I've said it a million times. As men, love them both. I think they're both outstanding human beings. But from a football standpoint, I'm yeah, whatever. I can't fight for them. I can't defend the indefensible. I can justify moving on from them. I can justify keeping them. But I will say this, is the losses have mounted. It's made it very hard for me to talk myself into keeping either one of them.
Well, I would say this is Kevin didn't get dumb, and I've had some backlash on that, but he didn't get dumb. What's happening is his message isn't getting through, and if he's your guy, then he can only do it with good players. He can only do it with these certain players. Then go out and get him those players. If you've decided he's your coach, go out and get those players. That's the problem I have more with Andrew Berry than I have with Kevin Stefanski. Now, he's had some issues on offense, and he hasn't, in 21, he was so good in the red zone. They're terrible in the red zone now. Obviously, Nick Chubb kind of hit a lot of those things in terms of the run game, but he did not get dumb. He has his scheme. He hasn't diverted from his scheme. They've kind of made him change his scheme. So if that's the case, then get rid of him and get a guy that you want to run the scheme. Because when you go back to the 20 points, for me, that's a little misleading because they have such a good defense. They haven't been able to score when they need to. If you have to win 14-7, but you got to go get a touchdown, they can't do it. Because that's the problem, is that they don't play complementary football. They don't play well on special teams. Offensively, they turn the ball over. Everybody talks about the defense giving up points. The defense can only take so many body shots. This is a complementary game. This offense has been a part of making this defense not as dominant as it can be. This defense could have been legendary type defense if they had an offense that was adequate, a special teams that was adequate. That's killed them all year. They got to figure this out as a whole. And for me, it's more on the people on the field than it is the coaches. Coaches are involved, but this is a player-driven league and a player-driven sport.
Congratulations to the Browns for wasting what could have been, as you put it, a legendary defense. Mm-hmm. At least with Shedeur, I feel like in that down by a couple of points, need to go win the game, he gives you a chance. Now, he's probably going to make a rookie mistake that costs them the opportunity to capitalize on that chance, and we have seen that. But he at least, I feel like, gives you a chance. Dylan, no chance. Like, Dylan, they may not even get a first down. With Shedeur, they might get a couple of first downs and tease me. They're still probably not going to come back and win it, but he's at least going to give me a shot. Deshaun, I have no idea what Deshaun's going to have in the tank. We'll find out, I guess, next year during the offseason program and training camp, and I can't wait for that. You know, are we going to do the redemption arc for Deshaun next year? Is that good? And I think ultimately that's going to get decided by what they do in the draft, because if they draft the quarterback with the number 2 or 3 pick, wherever it is they end up, Shedeur's done. He has no future here other than being a backup. And then, well, Deshaun, clearly we already know he is done.